Hey there, welcome to another edition of Ask Ron. I actually recorded this on Christmas Day, so if you hear a little bit of house music in the background, EDM, that is my daughter mixing. She has a little home studio. She's a DJ Groove Baby. So you might hear the music getting louder and softer as time goes by. So, had to hurry up and do another edition because the questions are piling up. I don't want to get behind. First 7 questions, holy moly, come from Bully God. So in episode 21, that's the last one before this, you said you prepped yourself and always have. Do you believe this is because you come from the old school? Yeah, probably. I mean, I started competing in 1989, Natural Shows, organization called ANBC. I was competing with them all the way through 94. I never heard of a prep coach. I don't think they even existed back then. So I was really on my own. It was all trial and error. And with me, it was mostly error. Made a lot of mistakes. But every mistake I made, I tried to learn from. Sometimes it took me a couple shows to realize something I was doing wasn't quite working. But, eventually I figured out what I needed to eat, how much cardio, what type, for me. So, by the time I had that all figured out a few years later, why would I need a coach at that point? So that leads me to the next question. If you were to work with a coach, who do you think it would be? It would be any of the top guys, that would had availability, and anybody like Hani, Fakhri, George Farah, Aceto. I think those guys are all great at what they do. The reason I would work with a coach would mainly be for the chemical aspect. I'm not that well informed on all the different things that are being used today. I know a little bit. I don't know enough to be confident that I was doing things exactly as they should be done. What to take, how much to take, when to take it. Those are all things I would need coaching with. That's what I would use a prep coach for. I know how to eat. I know how to get in shape. That's not a problem for me at all. I don't need a coach for any of that stuff. I have other people that can look at me if need be and give me an informed opinion on where I'm at, ahead, behind, whatever, but I have the prep stuff down for myself after all these years. Like I said, I've been competing since 1989. I've done over 25 shows. The last few have all been pro qualifiers, so what I would need help with would be the chems. I don't know a lot about that, so that's what I would use a coach for. I'm sorry if that sounds terrible to a lot of people out there, but that's the only reason I personally would need a coach. I'm all set with the diet and the cardio and all that. If you were to work with a current IFBB pro, who would it be as a coach? I can't think of any IFBB pro out there who I would want to work with. I guess Fakhri's a pro, so technically him maybe. But these guys are competing. How many of them are even coaches? I don't know. I'm not aware of any currently competing pros that work. I know a lot of them work with a lot of bikini girls and MPD guys or whatever, and that's kind of like what I do as a coach. But who among them would I trust to work with, or would I want to work with? I really can't think of any. The guys who I would put my faith in are the top coaches. And there's really none of them stand out to me in my mind as being heads and shoulders above the rest. I think they're all really good at what they do. But as far as active pros right now, there's none that I really would want to work with. Do you like to coach people? If so, how many do you like to take on at a time? Do you get more women competitors than men? I can't take on a ton of people because I do have this full-time gig with muscular development that I take very seriously, but I do have time to work with anywhere between 3 to 5 people at a time and give them the attention they need. I'm writing up their nutrition programs, their workout programs, progress pictures, checking in with them. And I don't have a lot of time, and I don't have a lot of patience. So, if that was my full-time thing, I still don't think I'd be able to do a good job with more than 10 or 12 people at once. Me personally. I know some people take on a lot more than that. But if I'm personally getting someone ready, and do I enjoy it? I do like it because, I made a lot of mistakes in the early years prepping myself, and I enjoy being able to save other people from making a lot of those just basic mistakes that I made. So I do enjoy in that aspect, and helping people get in shape, the best shape of their lives. I've coached some people for their first shows, which is always exciting because, you know, my first show was so long ago. But it's exciting to go through that process with someone else and watch them. I've worked with a few people now for their first shows, and it's a cool thing. I actually helped a young Polish immigrant from my gym earlier this year, a kid named Adrian, turn pro in the OCB in his second show ever, and it was by far the best condition he'd ever been in. He's a classic physique pro in that organization. Next year, I'm going to be working with a woman named Michelle. She's probably going to be doing Team U, going for her in the Masters, going for her women's physique. And hopefully that might be my first IFBB Pro League pro card that I helped somebody get. Because, you know, I've tried myself all these years, haven't been successful. But I know I'm a better coach than I am an athlete. I'm not genetically gifted to the point where, you know, for me to turn pro, some stars would have to align. I'd have to hit kind of a weak class where nobody had awesome genetics. I'd have to be, you know, but I can help other people. I can recognize superior genetics in other people that are looking for a coach, and all they need is just that little extra push to get them in a little better condition than they've ever been before, the presentation, just little things, and I'm pretty confident that I'm able to do that. Like I said, I'm at the point where I've come to the conclusion I am a better coach than I was a competitor, and I was a pretty good competitor for what God gave me. Okay. These are all coaching questions from Bully God. Since you prep yourself, what do you think of the current crop of competitors working with a coach? Do you think it would be more beneficial for the competitor to try to do their own thing to learn their body more? Not necessarily. It would take a lot longer, you know, because you're doing this process of trial and error. You're going to be making mistakes on your own that a good coach could probably prevent you from making. So you're going to save a lot of time, and, you know, shows are expensive. It's a lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of effort to get ready for a show. So if somebody can help you get into better condition and place better than you otherwise would have, I'm all for it. I don't have anything against coaching, because I do coaching. So, you know, I'm not going to be saying, oh, these people now, all they need a coach. No, that's fine. If somebody needs a coach and they're willing to pay for it, and, you know, there's a whole bunch of coaches out there, not all created equal, obviously, but if you can find a good coach, got a good track record with clients, you're definitely going to save a lot of time and effort. And, you know, maybe you'll look better at this show instead of 2 or 3 or 4 shows down the line after trying to figure it out yourself. If you have plenty of time on your hands, you don't mind screwing up and, you know, writing off a few shows because you're still figuring shit out on your own, go for it. Yeah, I do believe you learn your own body. You have the potential to learn your own body better than anyone else ever could. You know, because only you know how you're feeling at all times. Only you can really see how you're looking and feeling when you eat this or don't eat that, or do more cardio, less cardio. You know, coaches are great. They can check in person or in pictures, but if you get that eye for your own physique, like I have mine down to a science, so I can prep myself better than anybody else possibly could. I know that, but I mean, look how long it took me. I'm 48 freaking years old now, for God's sake. You mentioned you don't have any cheat meals since you're not prepping. What does your current diet look like? Take us through a day of what you eat. Okay, that's kind of easy. I eat the same damn thing every day, pretty much. So I'm going to take a training day because I train most days. Breakfast is 4 whole eggs. I fry that. I put some Mexican-style shredded cheese. Once it's all done, fold it over so it's an omelet. Then I do about 3/4 cup of dry oats and in water. I keep putting that in the microwave over and over again. It's challenging because it'll explode if you leave it in there too long, so I'm doing like 45-second intervals, cooking my oatmeal. And then I'll put some blueberries in that, you know, probably about a cup of blueberries and a little bit of natural honey. That's breakfast. That's my pre-workout meal. Typically we'll finish eating that around 8, training at 9:30, I'm sorry. Finish training around 11. Around 11 I have like 55, 60 grams of whey protein, plus some simple sugars. Could be fruit, or lately it's been cereal, like Honey Nut Cheerios, you know, about a cup and a half of that, or a cup and a half of Rice Krispie Treat cereal. It's also another good one. So then about an hour and a half after that is my post-workout meal, chicken and rice. I don't do chicken breast. all the time, actually rarely now. I get the boneless chicken thighs and legs from Costco. I make big batches of that at once. I marinate that in teriyaki sauce. I think it's called Yoshida's for a day, and then I bake it. And I mix that up with white rice. It's about 2 cups of white rice for that post-workout meal. About 2.5 hours after that, I will have a turkey burger on potato bun with a slice of cheese. I'll usually have coffee with some whey protein mixed into that. I'll do a Perillo energy bar that has some carbs in it with some more protein, because I'm always shooting for about 55 or so grams of protein per serving. And an apple with that. 2.5 hours after that, I do about a cup of ground turkey with salsa mixed up, and I have some gluten-free tortilla chips. Crumple those up, put them all in a big bowl. I chow that down. How many meals are we at now? So we had breakfast, we had the post-workout meal, we had the ground turkey, we had the turkey burger, and my final meal is usually salmon. I get the Atlantic farmed salmon from Costco, big bag of that. I make a few of those at once. So one of those is about, it's about 45 grams of protein. Maybe not enough, but oh well. So I do that, and my last meal of the day is usually that with maybe a half a cup to a cup of raw nuts and vegetables. I'll do green beans with that, raw green beans. You know, I used to have vegetables with every meal, but it just got to be too much volume in the stomach. So I know I don't have enough fiber, but I'm regular, so I'm doing something right. That's my daily diet, guys. And then I have a shake in the refrigerator at night, I should mention. Myofusion from Gaspari Nutrition. I keep that mixed up like 100 grams because I'm taking hits from that all the time. So if I wake up at like 1 in the morning to go to the bathroom, I'll go down, have maybe 20, 25 grams of that. Obviously I'm not measuring. Get up again to go to the bathroom at like 4. Yeah, this is what happens when you get old. Do another 20, 30 grams, whatever it is. And then, you know, breakfast is, like I said, at 7:30 I start eating that. When you travel for shows or expos, do you typically miss training since you may miss meals, or you suck it up, find a gym, and go anyway? I absolutely do not train when I go to these shows when I'm on the road. And for me, that's a good thing because I don't take time off from the gym, which I should. I tell everyone else to. Especially when you're older, your joints get beat up, they need a break. And I know in my heart of hearts I should be taking like a full week off every 6 weeks, or maybe a week or 2 off every 10 to 12 weeks, but I don't do it. So the only time off from training I really get is when I go away to cover these shows for MD. So if I'm going to the Arnold, the Olympia, whatever, I'll be away, I'll be not training from the time I leave to the time I come back. And I'm usually, unless I get back early in the morning or something, I'm not even going to bother training the day I get back. So it ends up being anywhere from 3 days of training. Sometimes it's been as many as 5, and that's fine. You know, I usually feel great when I come back. You know, especially my shoulders. My shoulders are the one thing that's the most overused, the most injured, and has the most issues with the arthritis. And there's no cartilage in there anymore. And I got a bone spur. Wah wah wah. So time off from training is especially good for my shoulders. So I don't feel bad about it. And, you know, people ask me, you know, you want to catch a workout while you're at the Arnold or at the Olympia, and I turn everyone down. Years and years ago I would do it, but I do miss so many meals when I'm away on the road like that. My schedule's all messed up. I don't like to train out of my environment, not necessarily because I do like other gyms. I do love visiting other gyms and training at them, but I don't like to be off of my normal sleep and meal schedule. You know, I'm a creature of habit. I'm OCD about I like to sleep my 7 or 8 hours, get that first meal, then go to the gym. Or on rare occasions, maybe I'll have I train later in the day, which is very rare. It's usually when I'm meeting someone for whatever reason to train out of town or something. But I don't like to go to the gym if I haven't had my proper meals, my sleep and all that. To me, it's a waste. And I know I need the rest, so I don't feel bad about it. Extra workouts aren't going to be doing me any favors at this point in time. A little extra rest probably is exactly what I need. Okay, a comment. Last was not a question, it's a comment, but I'm going to read it anyway from Bully God. I give you a ton of credit for doing the right thing and having your priorities in order with being a family man first and bodybuilder second. Mentioning your son starting school and helping him out rather than trying to pursue your pro card as a freshman here, since the sport is very, very selfish. Thank you. You know, I'm still very selfish. I still eat every 2 to 2.5 hours, and you know, I take my son to the gym, but it's around when I'm eating and everything. But yeah, you know, I'm not gonna I'm not going to put my work and my family after bodybuilding because they don't put a nickel in my pocket, and you know, I'm not a great bodybuilder. I figured out a while ago I was never meant to be one of the greats, so why would I have regrets later in life that I should have put more time and effort into my family and my career and stuff like that instead of wasting so much time training. And you know, I still do spend a lot of time between the training and the eating. It's still a huge commitment that in the grand scheme of things is probably not to my best interests based on the returns I'm getting. I mean, I love training, I love looking and feeling a certain way, but you know, would I be a little more successful in life if I didn't spend so much time at the gym and eating? Yeah, I probably would. Okay, next question. These are from Glenn Hill 68. He's over in the UK. When you were competing, what was the biggest mistake you made and why was it? Okay, easy. I got too fat over and over and over again. Off season, I would just, in the interest of bulking up and getting big, I would just get fat. You know, especially in the years I was 100% natural until I was 27 years old. So when I would get up to 230, which I did in the off season back then, you can imagine how much. If I'm dieting down to like around 180 back then, 175 to 185, you can imagine how fat I was at 230. I was big fat ass face, big ass, little gut, and that was without any steroids or insulin or growth or any of that. But as the years went by, I realized biggest prep mistake I was making, and that most people make, is just getting too heavy, getting too much body fat, because it's all going to have to come off eventually. And the more body fat you have to lose when you compete, you're going to have to go low on the cardio. I'm sorry, low on the carbs, calories. You're going to have to do a ton of cardio. You're going to lose muscle. And I found even when I was on gear and I was getting heavy, I still end up losing some muscle mass as I came down. And that's with the gear helping me retain the muscle mass. So that was definitely the biggest mistake I made competing, was just not giving myself enough time to prep and getting out of shape. I would say getting out of shape. If you're going to compete, you should always be able to see some abs, some serratus, some separation in the quads, chest, back, a little bit. I'm not saying you need to stay ripped, but you need to definitely keep the body fat in check. Lee Haney called it keeping within striking distance, and I think that's a good way to think about it. What advice would you give to someone starting out in bodybuilding? I think I'm going to have to make that a whole Ask Ron, and I'm going to do that. How's that? Because that's going to take a while. That's a good question, but it's very involved. It's not one little platitude. I'm not going to give you like one couple sound bites that would be everything you need to know. I'm going to do a whole edition on that. You mentioned you might compete again. Would you use a prep coach, or do you think you have enough knowledge now not to bother? Yeah, I covered that. I would use a prep coach for the chems, for the drugs. Sorry. I got to be honest, because I don't know how to use them optimally. I don't know what I should be using exactly, what brands. There's a lot to it now. It's a science, and, you know, I would need help with that. I would need a coach. So that's why I would use a coach. You know, they could probably also help me toward the end, because all competitors have a bad habit of kind of going crazy at the end, and you lose your objectivity. You're looking in the mirror, and one minute you think you're shrinking, the next minute you think you got fatter, and you know, your mind starts playing tricks with you, especially in the last 3-4 weeks, big time. So a coach, that's when I think a coach is the most helpful. I wouldn't say, you know, to most people who need a coach, I wouldn't say just hire a coach at the end for that reason. You need someone to guide you through the whole process. But for me, that's probably when a coach would be the most useful, is just to keep me from, you know, assure me that everything's on track or whatever, or maybe it's not, and say, you know, you need to cut the carbs, you're not lean enough yet, and this and that. Whereas on my own, I might, you know, either tend to not get lean enough or get too lean to the point where I'm losing muscle. I'm taking my calories down too low. I'm doing too much cardio. And these are all things that are easy to do when you don't have anyone watching you or accountable to. Okay. Let's see what else he says. Glenn Hill's last question. When you set out bodybuilding, what were your goals and what did you want to achieve? So I was only a freshman in college. I just turned 18. That's when I started following bodybuilding, and I decided eventually I wanted to compete. That's about as far as my goals were. I'd like to compete. You know, I wanted to look like Rich Gaspari, and I thought that was going to happen within a year or two. Yeah, that was wrong. I was very naive. I was very naive about many of the aspects, because we just had magazines back then. There was no internet. There was no forums. There was no YouTube videos where people were breaking down the truth. So, you know, I was naive to a lot of aspects to the sport. But when I first started out, you know, my goals were I'd like to win a bodybuilding contest someday. If you want to talk about overall, I've only won one overall in all those years. I've won my class a couple times. But overall, I only won once. It was an NPC drug-tested show called the Colonial Naturals. Oh my God, I can't even think of the name. But that was in 2007. So it took me from 1989 to 2007. 28 years, right? Wait a minute. Anyway, 89 to 2007, however many years that is. Isn't it? Okay, 18. Took me 18 years. Anyway, I mean, other guys win their first show within, like, you know, a couple months of training. Clearly, I wasn't meant to set the bodybuilding world on fire. Okay, last question comes from Guy Hungwell. Doesn't he call himself something different now? What is one thing online about people aside from trolling that has annoyed the absolute fuck out of you? For me, it is a misinterpretation of something I wrote and how people sidetrack everything with it and derail the thread. The other would be not knowing the difference between when it's time to be sarcastic and when it is not. I've been guilty of those two things myself, but those are my absolutes. If people aren't trolling, I really don't have a problem with anything that they post. I just don't like trolls, especially when they're very disrespectful. I don't like when they're disrespectful to the pros, to the organization. I mean, this is why pros don't post. Most of them don't have thick skin like an Evan Centopani or Jose Raymond. Especially Evan, you know, he'll take whatever you throw at him and give it right back to you. And you know, Jose's pretty much the same way. But a lot of the pros, they just don't want to deal with insults and negativity, so they don't post on these boards. I mean, they choose to just stick to their own, you know, Instagram or Snapchat or Facebook or whatever, where they can monitor all the comments and block people and delete negative comments. And you know, I don't blame them one bit. You know, why would you willingly subject yourself to abuse from people if you didn't have to? And they don't have to. Why? You know, I say this all the time, but when I was starting out, I was a fan. I would have been so overjoyed at the opportunity to be able to ask questions of the pros on online. You know, there wasn't a lot online back then, but you know, I couldn't imagine like taking that platform to insult them or mock them or try to make them feel bad or tear them down. You know, why would you do that? If you don't have anything nice to say to these guys, or you know, just be quiet. Like your mama should have taught you. But trolling does bother me because, you know, some people, they want to get a reaction out of you, they want to get a rise out of you, they want to get you angry. And, you know, the thing that probably bothers me the very most is if anyone ever says anything about my wife or my kids. You know, you can rip on me all day long. I'm a public figure, whether, you know, for better or worse. Everyone knows Ron Harris is here, and you can make fun of me, and you know, my arms suck, and this and that, or I'm dorky, I got glasses, you know, whatever. You can rip on me, and that's fine. I expect it. It's part of the territory. It comes along with what I do and the industry that I'm in. But you know, people go out to talk shit about my wife or my kids. I don't take kindly to that. That's a no-no. There's a guy that used to post on MD years ago, a big fat ass named BB23, called my wife an ugly cunt one time, and it's probably been like 5 years, 6 years or more. I don't know how long. It was a while ago. I'm still, if I ever see this guy, he's got an apology to make to me, or else, you know. I don't claim to be the toughest guy in the world, but you know, you call my wife that. I don't care who you are. You can be friggin' Hapthor or you're a friggin' MMA fighter. I don't care. I'll take the injuries that I got coming to me to lay one out at you if you're going to talk like that about my wife. My God, that's my wife, dude. So anyway. That has been Ask Ron for this time. I appreciate you guys keeping the questions coming. I'll do my best to keep up with them all. And I do owe that one question that I will get to next time, because that deserves its own thing. What someone needs starting on bodybuilding. I'll get to that next time. Thanks for watching. Appreciate it. Hope you're all having a great holiday season. Talk to you later.